Hey reader, this is Centaur here, and today we are taking a look at the mystery box. We have a mystery box that has arrived from Warlord Games. I am joined here by Baby Centaur and Little Centaur, and we are going to go ahead and have a pop open of the box. Now, I know that somebody made a really good point recently. I want to say it was Joel Freeman, talking about how there is a bit of a skew online in terms of the value that you get from boxes, because the people who tend to show what they got in their boxes tend to be people who got really good boxes, and people who tend to not show what's in their boxes tend to be people who did not get very good boxes. So it does tend to skew. This box, as you can tell, has not been opened. My daughter did take off one of the stickers from the post office box, but that is the only thing that has happened to it. So this is going to be a completely live unboxing. No idea what's in this. You will find out how great or how not great the Soviet Union and French boxes are that I'm about to open are as I learn about it. And so we will go from there with great help from our handy helpers. So we will now go about the really boring job of opening up the boxes. Please enjoy the meowings from Baby Centaur. Okay, the box is open, and now we will get ready to go first. Little Centaur, do you want to grab something out of the box and show all the people what's going on? Boy, oh boy, looks like we got some plastic. That's always great. Okay, we got some paper. Yeah, we don't need paper. Alrighty. Okay, here, but we'll leave a little bit in so that the people don't see already what's in here. Okay, do you want to go pull something out and show us? Pull out something from the box, and let's go show the people.
Don't want to because
Okay, that's fine. Our first thing coming out is a box of Soviet infantry. Not particularly surprising. It looks like this is the non-winter version. So you get uniforms instead of greatcoats. You still get a bunch of the padded stuff, which is exciting. And some people like that, some people don't. I'll leave that to you to decide what you think. But first things out of the box, a box of Soviet infantry. And then related to that, we have a Soviet Army starter box. Now, this is the 1944 to 1945 version, which means, if I'm not mistaken, and we can see it from the side, this is the one that does come with a medium mortar and does not come with a light AT gun. So there are there are technically three starter armies. There's the Winter Starter Army, which is my personal favorite. You have this starter army for 1944 to 1945, which has the medium mortar and the T-34. And then there's another one from earlier in the war that comes with a light AT gun and no mortar, which personally, I have so many thoughts about, but this one does in fact come with a mortar, so that's exciting. And then we've got ooh, how exciting. We have a French Army 105 millimeter howitzer. This is a medium howitzer, which is one of my favorite kinds of howitzers. Gotten a lot of work out of those over the years. Because as I mentioned, this is a French, minor nations and Soviet box. Okay, so this one will be more on the French and minor nation side of things. We also have a Renault R35 light tank. So, relatively simple light tank, nothing too crazy going on there. And we have a French Army weapons team. Also not particularly surprising that we would get one of those. It comes with the AT rifle, it comes with the light mortar, and the sniper, as I recall. Let's see here, two-man AT rifle, light mortar team, sniper team. There we go. And, and 3 order dice. So fun and exciting. Have some of those. And we've got our base for the howitzer. Now take a look at what's on the other side. We have a French starter army. This is the only starter army that they have, of course. So it comes with the Sharpie 1. It comes with an AT gun. It's got the 2 primary weapon teams and a bunch of infantry, which is pretty fun. And we love those. So that's great. Again, not very surprising. We did expect a starter army with each one. We get an IS-2, one of the big boys coming in for the Soviets. I'm not personally a big fan of the big tanks, but you know what? I never would have bought this myself. That's the whole point of this. And I'm sure some people in my new and burgeoning gaming group are going to just love this guy. They're going to want the big bad toys. We go from there. We've got one of the reinforcement boxes. This is the Senegalese Trelour box set. So it comes with the metal models. Oh, are you stuck? Oh, you're stuck? And then let's see what else comes in here. Oh, we have a French Army support group. So this is different from the support teams box because this one comes with, yet another machine gun, a mortar team, but it also comes with a couple of officers as well as a forward observer, which of course, at least at present, we'll see, we'll see if any changes come to the French Army special rules. I anticipate forward observers to be used in pretty much every French army for the purpose of the game. And then we've got ourselves a Panhard 178 armored car, one of my favorite armored cars in the game. You get pretty good value out of this thing. It's a pretty decent kind of anti-tank dueling option for the French because you do get that light AT gun. It's very zippy, so you can get side arcs. And it has recce. So if you feel like not going toe-to-toe on a future turn, you can zip out of there and pretty quickly because you're on wheels. So that's fun. And then final thing in the box, we have the ZIS-30 tank destroyer. Now, the ZIS-30 tank destroyer, this is, again, a Soviet vehicle. It's nice because it's got that really, really nice gun on it. It is open-topped because, as you can tell, it's very open-topped. I mean, it's basically just a mounted artillery piece on, I think it's a Komsomlets chassis, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure it's just built on the Komsomlets, effectively. But, pretty effective. Again, it's dirt cheap firepower, right? Which is pretty fun. So all in all, taking just a quick look at what came out of the box, I mean, pretty great. There's a lot of French support in this one. I think my count tells me this comes with, 2 of each of the machine guns and the mortars, which is a good number. That's probably how many you would want. You also get, a dedicated sniper. You don't have to use your infantry in order to do that. You get your forward observer, a couple of unique dedicated officer stuff. You've got the extra Senegalese Trelours for, I think that's an extra 10 men. They can go along with like the 36 dudes you get in there, or 30 dudes that you get in there, which it's interesting that the French don't get an extra infantry thing other than the Senegalese Trelours. Personally, I think I'm actually okay with that. I think I would rather have the Panhard to accompany the Sharpie 1, which would be your armor platoon, Renault R35 if you really want that one, and then a bunch of good team weapons and a howitzer to accompany your AT gun. I think that's actually a pretty good set, all things considered. And then for the Soviet side, I mean, admittedly, I do wonder, do I need all of these infantry? You don't get a single machine gun, I don't think, in the entirety of this because this one, unlike the Siberian veterans, the Soviet infantry box does not come with a Maxim machine gun metal model upgrade kit to go with everything. You've got the IS-2, the T-34, and the ZIS-30. So you have one cheaper gun, one kind of mid-range gun, and one big heavy tank in there too, which is not bad. That's a nice spread as regards armor. I think it may be a little less versatile than the, relatively cheap Panhard, the relatively cheap Renault, and then the more expensive Sharpie 1. But on the whole, not horrible. And again, tons and tons of infantry models, so you can kind of make quite a bit out of that. Now, normally, when it comes to unboxings, this is where we would end it. But because, as you guys know, wargamers are real suckers for PowerPoints, we're going to quickly transition here, and we're going to do a quick PowerPoint as well, because questions have come up, of course, every single time the mystery box comes up, which is, why are we rewarding this? Is this the kind of thing that we should be participating in? And so that's what we're going to talk about next, very briefly. So now that we're back on the recording side of the studio, mystery boxes. Are they for you? Should you get one? What kinds of people are there in the world, and what kinds of things are mystery boxes good for? We are going to talk about this semi-briefly here because I think that it's an important topic. Okay, so first of all, what is a mystery box? Okay, first of all, it does vary, right? Based on what you're doing. There are some true mystery boxes. These are the ones that first came out when I first started looking at Warlord, where it was a smorgasbord from, it might include some bolt action, but it would also include stuff from almost every game system that they ran, right? And so you never really knew what you were going to get, but it was going to be a smattering of things, often including games you probably don't play. You then had some that were game specific. So, you might have like a bolt action one or a black powder one, right? Or something like that. But you didn't really know what else was going to be in it. But you could probably imagine it would be from, more core sort of nations to the game. You shouldn't expect to get, Bulgarian units or Belgian units, right? Or something else like that. You can imagine it's going to be some German stuff, some American stuff, some British stuff, etc. Some of them were themed conflicts. So, you could have like, a conflict theme. So, these are specific to the Axis powers, or they're specific to the Allies powers, or specific to the Napoleonic side of the war versus the Allies side of the war, right? Or something like that. You can also have some that are era specific. So, if you want to play in the Napoleonic era of black powder, if you want to play in the American Civil War part of black powder, etc., they were kind of broken up into their relevant constituencies because you were probably playing the game for a specific era or you were interested in a specific side, and so you'd play that one, okay? And this set of mystery boxes that we just opened, this one was army specific. So you picked out a specific kind of army that you could play. And obviously you might get stuff that might cross-reference, right? So like, if you picked up an American thing, one of the benefits of an American one is that a lot of the vehicles are part of the US Lend-Lease program. So you can use them for the British, you can use them for the Soviets. The R-35 tank that we unpacked earlier is used by several nations, actually. Poland can use it. I think the Romanians, and even some of the Axis nations get access to Renault tanks because they bought those in the 30s. So, like, even though they are specific to an army, and it's very often a starter set plus some extra add-ons, you might find that it does have some cross applicability to other armies that you're working on, or at least by painting one up, you are actually also to some extent having some army pieces in the wings for future nations if you wanted to collect them. But fundamentally, regardless of what the kind is, there are two things that are true of all of them. The first is that you're going to pay a certain amount of money, and then you're going to get that amount of money plus more back in value. That's the benefit of it. And the trade-off, of course, is you don't know exactly what you're going to get, okay? And then related to that, for anything that you do collect that you don't intend to use, resaleability is a viable option, whether that's through a buy-sell trade group on your favorite social media platform, or whether that's, eBay, right? Or something else like that. You have the ability for some potential resale. So who benefits from a true mystery box where you really don't know what you're going to get? Honestly, historical wargamers who play multiple games made by Warlord, right? If you play a bunch of the different games from them, then a true mystery box with you're going to get a little bit of everything is probably not going to hurt you. Okay. People who are just looking for something new to start playing, they're just like, well, I kind of want to start off playing in a new game, but I don't really know where to start. Getting a battalion box for pike and shot, or getting a Napoleonic army, little infantry kit or something like that will tell you, okay, I guess I'll collect British now, right? Or something like that, and that'll be the new game I start. Similarly, hobbyists who just kind of love different eras, they love painting schemes, especially people who just love doing like dioramas. They don't necessarily want to play the games. This is great because it's all scope for the imagination, right? And you get a lot of different stuff. For people who want a game-specific box, this is specifically useful in case you're one of those wargamers who loves a specific game like Bolt Action or Black Powder, but you have an interest in multiple armies, right? So whether you get stuff specific to an army you're already collecting or a different one, it doesn't really matter because all of it's useful for you, right? And then people who are maybe looking for something new to collect in their game of choice, they're like, well, if I get something that's part of an army that I don't have, that's great. That kind of helps to give me my heading for maybe something new that I'll start doing some research on, learn a little bit more from, and maybe start playing with and collect. Also, just hobbyists kind of looking for a change of scenery. If they're like, okay, I normally play Americans and Germans, but now I kind of want to paint up some winter soldiers. So, hey, I got some Soviets. That's great, right? All of that's useful. And then also, frankly, bolt action Soviet players really love this because they can use literally almost anything thanks to the Lend-Lease program, and possibly, depending on how your group is with this sort of thing, if there's a Soviet vehicle that has similar stats to another vehicle, being able to use that other vehicle as maybe a captured vehicle proxy. So it uses the same stats as one that Soviet Union already has access to. T-60 does make a pretty decent trade for like the Panzer II, for example. And the Soviets just have so many things. that there's almost always a vehicle that's similar one-to-one to it from somewhere else. And so because of that, if you want to have a really cool, really interesting army, a hobbyist might look at it and say, well, if I'm planning on playing Soviets, mystery box that's just anything in bolt action actually could come in pretty useful because captured vehicles. And then who benefits from a themed box? Okay. War gamers who are looking to expand like their Axis or their Allies collection or, something like that, where they already own multiple armies on one side of the conflict, it's not going to make a big difference for them. It's going to be fine. And then similarly, people who are new to the game, but kind of looking for a really good deal so that way they can dip their toes into a few of the nations, right? Because all you really need is, a vehicle or two and an infantry box. And you can technically start playing a nation even as low as 600, 750 points, but possibly as low as 1,000 if you're willing to take everybody veteran, right? So you don't really need much in a box. You don't even technically need a starter army in order to really start with a nation. And so if you happen to get, like I did when I did the Axis box, mostly German stuff, but also like, an Italian black shirts box and, a car armado and an auto blinda, you can technically run an army on that. And so, who benefits from an army specific box? Well, obviously, wargamers who are expanding their current collection for that nation. It also includes people who are starting a new army, right? Like, if you've never collected one before, just looking over there, what we got today over from the French side on the right, like, this is a good start, right? You'd have a good start to your rifle platoon, heavy weapons platoon, armor platoon, artillery platoon. And depending on how you build it out, obviously it could include a recce platoon. Well, I guess you don't have any transports. That'd be the one problem with a recce platoon. But it would be a good start. It'd be a good start for what you want. Similarly, if you have new players to the game who are just trying to save cash on their first force, right? And so, even if I've been, whether I've been playing the game for a long time or this is my first time jumping into bolt action, this is a really, really good way to start. And then similarly, also just hobbyists kind of looking for a variety of options for that army, where they're like, well, even if I never use a Char B1 or if I never use a Renault R35 for various reasons, regardless of those, I think I'd really like to just kind of have something new to paint, something new to work on, right? I know that, for example, the Senegalese troops, since assault kind of got a little bit worse, having regulars that are paying an extra point mandatory in order to get tough fighters, maybe it's worth it because it deters people running into you, but maybe it's not worth it because maybe they weren't planning on assaulting you anyway. And so because of that, like it really depends, right? But for a hobbyist who's just like, well, uniforms are going to be interesting, hats are going to be interesting, everything about it's going to be different, from what I'm used to painting with this army. So it would be worthwhile. I think those gamers are going to benefit from an army box that has a mystery component to it. So should you buy a mystery box? It depends, okay? First of all, financial responsibility. Do you have the money? That is the first and important question. I had a really good month of contracting leading up to the release of the mystery boxes, so I was able to buy two, and it didn't come out of my family budget because my extra side gig job that I have paid for all of it. So it didn't matter, right? Are you confident in your ability to resell things if money is a serious consideration for you? If you are not confident in your ability to resell stuff and in a timely manner, then maybe it is not for you to get a mystery box, okay? But fundamentally, and the whole gambling comparison comes up quite a bit with this. One should be financially responsible. And that is one of the things to consider when one is doing this, okay? The second question is, do you need or want it? Right? Like I didn't buy an American box because my American army box is the largest box I own. For any game system, because tanks take up a lot more space than Lord of the Rings miniatures do, for example. And so because of that, I looked at the American one being like, oh man, there's probably going to be some really good value here. This might be an easy way to pick up the new Rangers box if they end up sending out the new Rangers infantry set. But I was like, you know what? I just don't need it. So I didn't buy it, right? You tell yourself no. I do confess I went back and forth on the Soviet box because I'm like, well, these are going to be Soviet kits without the guns attached to the arms. So that's always fun, trying to put together. On the flip side, I was like, well, but like I could use a little more variety and the new kits look fine, but it might be worthwhile for my gaming group that's just getting started out to get these now instead of later. So, like it was just a decision I ended up making. And fundamentally, I was like, look, I might get an interesting vehicle that I never would otherwise use. So maybe a Soviet box is the way to go. And so, like I decided it was worth it. I think the bigger question is just, are you okay with more variety, right? There's very high likelihood that you're going to end up getting boxes that are going to have stuff that you would not normally take and that you don't currently have in your collection. So are you okay with getting more variety and interesting options for your troops? And then next, are you collecting a library of kits for your friends and new gamers like I am? In my case, the mystery box makes total sense because I'm stocking this so that way I can sell stuff for, like, 50% off, 60% off what you would normally get at MSRP just to get newer people into the game, right? And so for me, paying a certain amount of money and getting back that value from my friends fundamentally, because I'm probably going to get it back, but in exchange, the real benefit of the mystery box, even if I never end up touching a single model that I just pulled out, is that I get to play the game that I like playing with people without for me having to travel over an hour in order to get to them. That is worthwhile and it's worth the investment. So hence, mystery box, good fit for me as an individual person. And then finally, are you running an event anytime soon, or are you in need of extra prize support? One of the wonderful things about things like this is that if you're like, well, I'm going to buy a German starter box and I'm going to use a good bit of stuff, but maybe I don't need the starter army because I've already invested into Germans. And so I'm going to get some good value out of it. But man, it'd be really cool if we could get like a German starter army of any kind, because all the German ones are pretty good, especially now that you can take more than one vehicle in your single platoon, which was the one problem I had with the SS starter box. Now, like, you could just be like, well, I'm just going to take that starter box. I'm going to put that into my pile for prize support for an upcoming event that I'm running. And we'll give that away to the person who, comes in dead last. Right. And now, boom, they're started off with a really strong army. Right. Or something like that. If that's the case, then literally anything you get that you're not going to use is going to be advantageous. And somebody, especially if it's you get to pick what you want when it's your turn to pick something, somebody's going to get something that they will find value in. And so, are mystery boxes worth it? I think so, in general, if you're the right person for the right kind of box, right? And if you're the kind of person who has the money available and you're willing to make the expense. Is it just a form of gambling? I mean, it's a form of roulette, sure, because you don't exactly know what you're going to get. You are guaranteed more value than you put in. So 6 of one, half dozen of another. It's not like, throwing a bunch of money into a certain gambling thing of your choice and coming back with $0. It's not the same thing. But I do understand when people are saying, well, what you're really chasing is the dopamine, right? What are you going to find in there, and is it going to be valuable? And so my opinion is be the master of your hobby. If mastery of your hobby means learning to tell yourself no because you got plenty of things to paint, then pass on the mystery box. If master of the hobby means I'm going to take ownership of this hobby and I want to grow it and I want to be one of the people bringing new people into the game, mystery box is a great way to get easy, cheap value for you to bring people into the game. If you're thinking, I want to run an event and I want to have really good prize support, I mean, you never know what you're going to get, but you also never know who's going to come and what they may really love, right? Different people love different things. So toward that end, you never know. Mystery box might be a relatively cheap way of going about getting some extra value. And so my encouragement for you all, know yourself. Okay. Borrow from one of the greats of wargaming, right? One of the early masters of how to do the art of war. Know yourself. Is this feeding an unhealthy obsession for you? Pass. Okay. Is this good for you? Good for your gaming group? Does it help to give you direction? Is it within your budget? Go for it. The way they've been doing it, the way they've been refining it, we've been seeing the mystery boxes getting better and better tuned to what our preferences are as users, and that's fantastic. It's good to see that the feedback that's going back to Warlords being heard and it's being done and executed, and I would argue executed pretty well. So those are my thoughts on mystery boxes. Great way to start your week, I know. If you have thoughts, because we all know everybody has thoughts on mystery boxes, please do leave them down below, and I will see you so much next time.